What's up, everyone? Cole Sands here again with your weekly fishing report. You know, a lot of y'all who've been fishing lately probably have noticed the fishing's a little bit tough. And the reason is, that I think anyways, is because this last week the water has fallen a ton. You know, from last Monday till about Sunday afternoon, the water dropped 3/4 of a foot almost every single day. And what that did to a lot of them fish that were in them grass mats, you know, it was like the roof was caving in on them. The fish were still there, but it just put them into shock. And so, you know, you saw like this past weekend I fished the CBA Classic, which is the best fisherman on the lake. I mean, no doubt these guys can catch them better than anybody. And it only took 25.89 pounds to win a 2-day tournament. And that is just not normal for this time of year. But with that being said, Sunday afternoon the water finally stabilized, and I think the fishing's about to get really good. The water's finally that right temperature. It's like 62 to 65, which usually means it's top water time, and it's time to catch some really big fish. You know, historically speaking, November is one of my favorite months. So I'm really excited about what should be coming up. But just to talk about kind of what happened last week and what I expect, you know, going forward. So last week the frog bite was kind of hit or miss. You know, one day it'd be really good. I had a really good guide trip last Monday. You know, had a big bag of fish, missed several good ones, caught some really good ones. And it seemed like it kind of got tougher as the week went on, and I contribute a lot of that to the water dropping. You know, I actually fished the CBA Classic this past week, and the first day, I'm not going to lie, I blanked. Caught some short fish here and there, but we found one grass mat I thought we could win out of. You know, I didn't think it would take 13 pounds a day to win. In my mind, I'm thinking, I got to catch 20 pounds a day to win this tournament. So I found this grass mat, and we said, we're going to stay here, whether we catch them or not. We know the fish live there to win this tournament, and you know, we just gotta wait for them to turn on. And what happens usually this time of year, first thing in the morning when it's really cold, you know, they might not be eating a frog really good. You kind of gotta wait till 11 or 12 o'clock once the sun really beats down on it, and then you'll see the mat start to get active. You'll see fish moving around, bluegill popping, and that's kind of what we did. You know, we got on a spot, we thought we could win, we stayed there, and the first day it just didn't happen. We had about a dozen blow-ups. You know, if they would have got it, it would have been a different story. But you know, that they missed it. And I just think they're in such shock from all the fishing pressure we had this last week, but mainly from the water dropping. And you know, you live and learn. But what we did, we decided to scrap that game plan the second day. The weights were really low just to get a check. So we knew we were still in it for check range. And out here on this lake, you can catch a 25, 26 pound bag. And so you're never really out of it, especially with the tournament only taking 26 pounds. But so what we did the second day, we threw that game plan out of the window, decided to make a complete 180, and we ran way up the river. And our goal there was to get away from the grass. You know, the fish were so pressured and they were so shocked after that water dropping. We wanted to go fish hard cover and fish that were a lot more predictable. So we ran way up the river, got away from the grass. You know, if you run past 30 Bridge right now, you know, up north of Dayton or even up the Hiwassee River, if you run either of those rivers, there's not much grass right now, very, very little to none. And so what you find up there, as the water's dropping, the fish only have so many places that they can go. And those places are either creek channel swings or hard cover. You know, by hard cover, I mean any little stick or lay down or stump or rock, anything that's still left in the water. So those fish become a lot more predictable. So what we did, we scrapped everything, we ran way up there, and got on a couple different bites. You know, one was a buzzbait. That caught a couple really good fish. And this time of year when I'm throwing a buzzbait, especially around, you know, the river systems away from the grass, I like something with a really big blade and a small weight. And what that does is it allows you to just creep that buzzbait. I do the same thing in the springtime when the water temp's a little bit cold. You can throw these buzzbaits a lot slower than you can a normal buzzbait. So that allows them time to come up and eat it. And that kind of seemed to be key. So we used that to catch a couple of our good fish the second day. We used a chatterbait to cover water. Just, you know, we get on some of the mud banks, you know, if you're between laydowns. Chatterbait's a really good bait to cover water with, just throwing a little clear water shad. And then also we were throwing a little Yozuri 1.5 3 dB square bill around, which is kind of a little citrus color. And you know, any little stump or rock, especially, you know, we'd use this and we just cover water. And then once you get to a specific target, that's kind of when we slow down, dissect it with a just a little jig. You know, I like kind of a smaller profile flipping jig this time of year. And that's kind of how we caught our fish the second day. We had right at 15 pounds and actually had the biggest bag weight in the second day. But that just goes to show, you know, if one thing doesn't work right now, don't be afraid to scrap it. Go try something else. The fish are always biting somewhere on this lake. You know, that's one thing I've learned. Even on my toughest days, somebody always seems to catch them decent. So we kind of made a game plan adjustment, you know, ran way up north and caught some key fish because of it. But with that being said, that grass bite's about to get really good again. And the reason is because that water finally stabilized. The bluegill should start to get back in the mats with it being cold. And, excuse me, but it should be about to get really good. So if you're trying to grass fish, which is my favorite thing to do, usually this time of year, what I will do is I'll wait till about 11 or 12 to start throwing a frog. And the reason is because I wait for the sun to get on them grass mats to warm them up and for the fish to get active. And so what I'll do first thing in the morning to catch fish, and what I did last week in practice, is I'll throw either a jerk bait like that Yozuri pearl shad jerk bait I've showed y'all in the past, or I'll throw like an Alabama rig on the edge. Something like a chatterbait can also be really good, but I'm not really going to target inside the grass mats until the sun gets on them. But so I'll start with an Alabama rig or a jerk bait, and I'll get on the grass edges, and I'll just cover water. You know, I'll look for bait, but that's what I'll do a lot of times until 10:30, 11 o'clock once the sun gets up. Even a small little 1/4 ounce rattling vibe, you know, little rattle trap, little rattling vibe style bait can catch a lot of fish this time of year and get you a couple keepers in the boat before that sun gets up. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm targeting. And then once the sun gets up, you know, I love to throw a frog. I've talked about in my past videos what frogs I like to throw, so be sure to check those out. But just experiment with the retrieves. You might have to work it slower with it being colder. You might have to work it faster. You know, every day's a little bit different. But once that sun gets up, I'm going to go back to the grass. I'm going to get back into throwing a frog, because that's where a lot of your biggest fish will come from this time of year. And then if you can't get them to come up and commit to a frog, you can pick up a little punch bait. That's just a gambler stinger, 1.25 ounce weight, 5/0 hook. And you know, this is something, if the fish aren't willing to come up to the top of the grass mats and eat your frog, you can punch your bait in there a lot of times and catch a couple fish, you know, that aren't willing to commit to your frog. But, you know, so that's kind of what's going on right now. I really expect the lake to fish really good these next couple weeks. November's always been one of my favorite months, and it's usually when a lot of good fish are caught. So, you know, I'm optimistic. I think this falling water had them really shocked, but the water finally stabilized, and I think it's about to get really, really good. So I'm excited about it. Y'all stay tuned for next week, and I appreciate y'all a bunch. Thanks, guys.